Two, one. Back to the current review. My name is Tshwane Ngatu, sometimes known as TT, sometimes known as Chairman, and we are on episode number 59, steadily going to 100. And in this morning's edition of the current review, we delve into a discussion about the recent changes within the Tshwane Metro's executive leadership. After a series of political shifts, the new mayoral committee has been formed with the ANC, the EFF, and Action SA leading the way. Our guest today, Tate Kwena Moloto, the DA Tshwane caucus spokesperson, shares the DA's views on these developments, their response to the claims made against them, and what lies ahead for the party in Tshwane. The DA has been vocal about its criticisms of the new leadership, especially concerning service delivery and governance. In this interview, we'll explore the DA's stance on these matters and what the party believes should be the way forward for Tshwane's residents. Mr. Moroto, thank you very much for joining us today and welcome to the current review. The DA has had a significant presence in Tshwane until recently. Could you share your immediate reaction to being removed from power and replaced by this new coalition?
No, look, thank you for having me, Chairman. I think it's extremely unfortunate what's taken place in Tshwane with the removal of the executive mayor, Celia Brink, and the formation of a new government. I think over the past 18 months, under the leadership of Celia Brink, we've seen massive strides forward in terms of service delivery inside the city of Tshwane. We've seen the city's finances turning around. Over the next few months, you're going to see clean drinking water rolling out in the taps in houses in Hammanskraal, which has been an issue that's predated 2016. We're on the road to energy independence, and so a lot has been done under the executive mayor Celia Brink, and a lot has been done since the DA took over the city of Tshwane inside 2016 and later in 2021 with the formation of the multi-party government. In regards to the formation of the new MACO, we, as you said, have been extremely critical. I think that, one, it's very clear that it's not Action SA that's now taken over the city of Tshwane. It's the ANC, and you can see it in the formation of MACO, where the ANC has the big budget portfolios and departments such as human settlements, roads and transport, finance, and those really, from an economic point of view, are the biggest budget departments, as well as the EFF getting environment and waste. And so while Dr. Nasipi Moya holds the position of executive mayor, we don't think that she holds the power, and it's going to be a very, very difficult 2 years for her, being a minority party inside a coalition where you've got two big players, and we've seen this playbook before in Joburg and in Ekurhuleni.
And in contrast to what you're saying about the DA's track record in terms of service delivery in Tshwane, the ANC and its partners have accused the DA of neglecting issues of service delivery, especially in Black communities there in Tshwane. How do you respond to these allegations?
Look, I've always said I think that you can tell where the heart and the mind of a government is based off where it spends its resources. And over 60% of our capex budget was spent inside the townships. And so it's a nice narrative, a nice political narrative to drive, but the numbers speak for itself. The multi-party government under Celia Brink was spending majority of its budget inside the township, and also when you look at some of the bigger projects that we're doing, as I said, pre-2016, when the ANC was still in power, the issue of Hammanskraal water was a massive issue, and it was under this DA-led coalition government that now, over the next few months, as I said, you're going to see clean drinking water rolled out inside Hammanskraal. That's a township. We know that for years there's been massive issues with electricity supply inside Shoshanguve. We spent over 60 million rand on the JJ sub inside Shoshanguve, so that the residents of Shoshanguve will now be getting a stable electricity supply. And so those are all massive projects that were focused on the township. And so we see the narrative as being completely political.
And this new mayoral committee has outlined priorities such as investment in infrastructure and job creation. What are your thoughts on their proposed agenda, and do you see any potential challenges in achieving these goals in terms of how they are formed, their formation, and do you still consider these formations as they are, this coalition, as a doomsday coalition as was defined previously towards the national and provincial government elections in terms of the national outcome? Had it been that the ANC went into coalition with the MK party as well as the EFF and others, do you think also this one is also can be defined in fact as a doomsday coalition there for Tshwane?
Yeah, I think first of all it was very interesting when MACO was announced by Executive Mayor Dr. Nasipi Moya, is that she said that currently there's 2 billion rand that's allocated to the townships. Now budgets aren't something that one can just approve at random stages. The budget that she's speaking about was a budget that was approved by council, but put together by the multi-party government that they've removed. And so I believe that what they've spoken about in regards to infrastructure investment, putting more funds into service delivery, it's something that we'll fully support. And we've said that we've laid a very solid foundation for the turnaround of Tshwane, and we're starting to see the effects. And so we aren't going to disrupt council like our predecessors in opposition. We're not there for political games. If this multi-party government continues implementing the mayoral charter that we had been implementing over the past 18 months, we'll support them. As regards to the Doomsday Coalition, I do believe it can be categorized as such, because we've seen this playbook before. Inside Joburg, inside Nkuruleni, the ANC and the EFF have come together. They've put forward a mayor from a minority party, and they've used that mayor as a shield. They've been allowed to loot. They've allowed for service delivery to collapse, and then ultimately it's that mayor that takes the brunt. And we, as we saw in Joburg and in Nkuruleni, after a period of a few years, then that mayor is removed, and the ANC is allowed to then come in and say, let's turn the city around. And so I mean, as I said, when you look at specifically the portfolios and the departments that the ANC and the EFF took, the big budget departments, I think it speaks to what we could potentially see. I mean, the EFF taking waste. We know that the reason this motion of no confidence first served was because we changed the service level agreements in regards to our waste contractors, and to very reasonable, very reasonable kind of standards. We said that the truck shouldn't be older than 8 months. That was one. We said that they need to be road legal. That's two. And that the drivers need to have licenses. I mean, that's very, very reasonable request. But as a result, 60% of contractors were changed. And that hit the pocket of a lot of regional leaders inside the ANC, because we know that many of their companies subcontract from the waste contracts. And so the fact that the EFF has that position is worrying for us. We saw as well, for example, in Nkuruleni, the EFF being embroiled inside the 2.1 billion rand security contract that was then found to be corrupt. And so we'll be keeping a keen eye on those big budget departments, because we've seen what's happened inside the past.
And with our experience of the coalition governments, especially in Gauteng, is that they tend to be very fluid. Today it's this, and tomorrow it's something different. Do you have hope that you can find each other as previous partners in the city of Tshwane to actually change the government to what you may deem as a suitable government for the people of Tshwane?
We're going to stay in opposition until 2026. We have no intention of bringing frivolous motions of no confidence to try and grapple back power. They say when two elephants fight, it's the ground that suffers, and we think that the instability that we've seen in local governments across Gauteng have resulted inside decay in service delivery, and it's the residents of these municipalities that suffer. And so we don't intend on bringing such instability in Tshwane. As I said, we've put together a clear mayoral charter that speaks to the turnaround of the city of Tshwane, and will support Dr. Nasipi Moya if she continues to implement those things. We'll support Dr. Nasipi Moya if inside the next few months we see clean drinking water inside the taps of the residents of Hammanskraal, if we continue down the road of energy independence inside the city of Tshwane. And so for us, we don't see any situation whereby before 2026 we enter government. I think that we've drawn a clear line in the sand nationally. We said to the ANC, if you intend on engaging with us about stability packs inside municipalities across the country, that you'd have to bring back Celia Brink in the city of Tshwane. It's something that they didn't do. And so we see that as the ANC negotiating in bad faith. We see it as really against the spirit of the GNU. And so we will remain in opposition until 2026, and Celia Brink won't be going to parliament as many people have claimed. He entered the space to fight for the residents of Tshwane as executive mayor. It would be disingenuous to then leave once the blue lights are removed. He has every intention of staying and fighting for the residents of Tshwane in the opposition benches.
And in retrospect, is there anything that you as a DA could have done differently to maintain the coalition and avoid the current situation?
I don't think so. Look, we had a very good relationship with Action SA up until the point that we were removed at a local level. I've said multiple times since the election of Dr. Nasipi Moya that we do see Executive Mayor Moya as a competent public servant. She did brilliant work as the deputy mayor, and so it'd be disingenuous for us to now say that she's doing a poor job. What happened in Tshwane was a national decision. Action SA did very poorly inside the 2024 elections. They had believed that they would receive about 10% of the vote nationally, and they didn't even receive a tenth of that target. And so Herman Mashaba needed someone to blame, and Herman Mashaba is always very quick to blame the DA. And so I think that he sees this as an opportunity in the run-up to 2026 to have a government that's led by Action SA inside Gauteng, and use that as a campaign tool as we go into local government elections. And so I think that we saw Herman said that, for example, he was leaving the coalition because the DA had reached out to the ANC. But inside the press conference when Dr. Nasipi Moya was being elected as executive mayor, both him and Panyaza Lesufi confirmed that they had been engaging on this matter for over 2 months. Already it was, as Panyaza Lesufi said, a continuation of the conversations that had happened when forming a new government in Joburg. And so their so-called review process was, it had a predetermined outcome. At a local level, we've had a good relationship with Action SA. We have a coalition agreement, for example, that has mechanisms for disputes and dispute resolutions, and they never use those mechanisms in the run-up to voting against Celia Brink. Even already 2 months ago, when the first motion was brought, Action SA released a statement to say that they would be supporting the work that this government has been doing, and then they did a complete 180 on the whim of Herman Mashaba, and so I think that given the nature of Action SA nationally, a party that's never gone to elective conference, where Herman Mashaba leads with an iron fist, this coalition was doomed to fail the moment he set his eyes on the mayoral chains in Tshwane.
And with talking about the 2026 local government elections, a lot of people are, do say that it will be difficult for any single political party to win an outright majority in any of the metros there in Gauteng. Do you think that you would be forced to look back at working with some of your former coalition partners in forming new governments after 2026, or do you think you guys will win outright in these major municipalities?
No, let me tell you, there's no one that will have outright majorities in any of the metros in 2026, besides maybe the city of Cape Town, where the DA has been flirting with that 50% line. But inside Gauteng, in Nkreleni, inside Tshwane, inside Joburg, there will be coalition governments, and I think we're gonna have to then look at the election results. I mean, obviously, if the DA, for example, got 45%, possible that we'd need to put a coalition together with one or two parties. But if the election results are anything like they were inside 2021, we'll likely see coalitions that do require quite a large portion of the council or of the parties represented inside council. And so I think at that time we will assess where we go. And I think it's also really going to depend on the work that's done by this government in the run up to 2026. I mean, if we see mass looting, if we see suspensions being lifted of the Rooiwal 5, for example, who were responsible for awarding Edward Nsodi's company the Rooiwal wastewater treatment plant tender, things like that would let us know who we're working with, and we intend on as opposition really showing the residents of Tshwane whose decisions are responsible for it. We're not going to allow for the ANC and the EFF to hide behind Action SA. They'll be held accountable for whatever goes on inside their departments. But I think we'll obviously keep a keen eye over the next 2 years on this government, and if they do well, there's nothing to say that we wouldn't be able to go into coalition with some of the parties inside council. But we've also drawn a clear line in the sand. We'll never go into coalition with the EFF under any circumstances. Coalitions need to be built off principles, and our principles and values don't align with the economic freedom fighters.
And this is a realization that you guys are only making now after the 29th May elections, because you have worked with the EFF previously.
Look, I think we inside 2016, and that's when I entered government for the first time as a councillor. There was such a longing to remove the ANC that in hindsight we made a mistake. We allowed the EFF to support us. Obviously, they didn't form part of governments. I mean, we never had a situation where there was DA mayors and EFF MMCs, but we did rely on their support. And I think that we were punished by voters for that inside 2019, because it was a decision that was made off pragmatism instead of principle. And it's a mistake that we've said will never make again. And it's why we've said that the parties, anti-constitutional parties such as MK and the EFF, under no circumstances will we work with them.
And in conclusion, for Tshwane residents who feel let down by the recent political turmoil, what message do you have for them, and how does the DA plan to regain their trust and support going forward?
I think the best thing we can do is be a strong opposition party. I think, firstly, we're not going to bring frivolous motions of no confidence. Tshwane needs stability until 2026. There'll be certain things that we look out for. So, as I've said, the issue of Hammanskraal water is a massive one for us. That process must not be interfered with. Over the next few months, we need to see clean drinking water in the taps in Hammanskraal. We've also seen inside the past, when the DA has been removed from governments in Gauteng, that a lot of forensic reports are stopped, suspensions are lifted by the ANC of people that are linked to corruption, and we've said that we'll be watching that very closely. And I think, thirdly, that we've, as council, elected or appointed a very apolitical, qualified senior management team under the city manager, and that's really the engine room of service delivery. And if we see the ANC and the EFF targeting any of those senior managers, trying to remove them for frivolous reasons in order to put cadres into those very important positions, we will fight heavily against that and go to court if necessary.
But isn't it a similar point that the DA was making when negotiating for the government of national unity, proposing to remove some of the DGs in certain positions because these DGs who are now under DA ministers may have loyalty towards their previous principals. Wouldn't that same principle apply there in the city of Tshwane with these city managers and other senior managers who may now still have hold their loyalty towards the previous government of the DA?
I think it really all comes down to how were these people appointed. We didn't have a cadre deployment committee that appointed these senior managers. That was done by the city manager. The city manager was elected by council, and also, again, not a deployed cadre of the Democratic Alliance. And in regards to national government, with the various DGs, I mean, upon assessment, we saw, given the fact that we had the records of the deployment committees, that there were some DGs that we felt shouldn't be inside positions. And I think it speaks to your ability to deliver on your mandate. We saw, for example, in Tshwane, one of our biggest issues is that while we had political power, we were sabotaged internally time and time again. We were put under administration. We saw illegal strikes, which had halted service delivery for months, and a lot of it being politically motivated. And I think that's really the main reason why we've said protect apolitical senior managers whose track record has spoken for itself. But if 100%, as you said, if you do find that these senior managers are card-carrying members of the DA and that they start sabotaging service delivery and so on, they remove them. I mean, we'd participate in supporting that because we can't be playing politics. We need to just ensure that service delivery is continuing and improving inside the city of Tshwane, as it has been in the past 18 months under Celia Brink.
Wena Moloto, the DA Tshwane Caucus spokesperson, thank you very much for your time, and we wish you all the best in terms of shaping up the future of the people of Tshwane and ultimately the people of South Africa.
Appreciate it, Chairman.
Thank you very much. That was Wena Moloto. We'll be back with another one at 12, right? Yeah.